Welcome to The Long Haul, the podcast dedicated to empowering small carriers and owner-operators to drive their business forward. I'm your host, Adam Wingfield, bringing you insights from industry leaders, real-world success stories, and strategies to help you navigate the road to profitability. Whether you're just getting started or looking to take your fleet to the next level, this is the show where trucking meets opportunity. So buckle up, it's time to go the distance. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Long Haul Podcast. As of always, I'm always excited to join this particular episode, the opportunity to get to talk to the owner-operator in a small fleet specifically about what's going on in their business and give you the opportunity to see things at a much higher level. Well, today's guest doesn't just work in trucking, she's lived it. Jessica started her journey not in a boardroom, but beside her husband, supporting him on the road as a trucker's wife. Fast forward now, she's spent over 15 years in the industry leading strategy, sales, and operation, all while staying grounded in the mission, which is to make the space better for the people who keep it moving. She currently serves as the business director of business development at Multi-Service Fuel Card, but her impact goes far beyond the day job. She's also the vice chair of the Women in Trucking Foundation Board and chair of the events committee for BCS, Women in Logistics, where she's helping champion the next generation of leaders through scholarships, mentorship, and all of the real action. Today's conversation isn't just about fuel, it's about purpose, it's about people, and it's about what it means to lead with heart in this industry that doesn't always slow down for that. I am super excited to be joined today by Jessica Dotson. Jessica, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Adam. It's great to be here.
Well, it's I'm glad that you're having some relaxed time out there in Colorado today. Yeah, I know behind the scenes before the show started today, we kind of talked about that. That's one of the better places to go in the summertime, and I do say the summertime because it's kind of different in the winter, obviously. But I'm glad you're having a good time down there.
Yeah, trying to unwind a little bit. We in my position, I travel a lot. Typically seven months out of the year. It's go, 2 to 3 weeks out of each month. We're traveling, conferences, running business, and having our own trucking company. Obviously, that never stops. So, yeah, it's nice to take a deep breath every once in a while.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit. I want to start with your story. So before we get into that, I want to go back. I want to start with your story. Tell us, I know, well, obviously where you're at now, but I want to go back a little bit to where it all started, to when it started from. Tell us when you first decided that trucking was going to be something that you're interested in being a part of, and just kind of walk us through that journey into how you got just into actually the trucking piece itself.
I started in accounting at a very young age. That's what my degree background is, in accounting. And my husband worked warehousing and back in the back of the truck, per se, for a very long time. He was a forklift operator, had to take a slight break. He battled a pretty bad round of cancer, but he beat it, 20 years remission. So that's something very nice to say out loud. Yeah. After he conquered that journey, he went back into the warehouses. But at that point, he's like, life's too short. I want to get out of the back of the truck. I want to get in the front of the truck. And he was determined. And so at that time, we were young, didn't have a lot of money. So he was able to work through some services to help fund his CDL education. So he started from the very bottom up, and he went through truck driving school at Fort Scott Truck Driving School. And once he finished that, he went to work for a company that allows student drivers to drive for them, as well as getting paid. When he started that, I was still in my happy little bubble, in my accounting bubble, living my best life. And through his, after he completed his student driving, which was about 6 months, they said, okay, we're going to switch you to company driver. And he got behind a truck, and for the first time ever was in a 80,000 pound vehicle, hauling rolls of paper out of Blinker, Wisconsin. And he would give me a call and, hey, find me a truck stop. This is in the evenings after I would get done working. And I had two very young kids, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And I'm like, find you a truck stop. All right, where do I go? And so I think it's still around the master truck stop directory. And so I Googled that, and I was looking. I was like, oh, looks like this nice little gas station over here. You should pull over there. He pulls in. I get a not so great phone call. This is not a truck stop. What have you done? I'm running down on hours. Panic sets in. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so I had to look, and I found, would be helping him navigate that arena. And so from that point is where I really understood this is way more complex than just him getting in a truck and driving. And I'm going to have to help because he's not getting a lot of help from his dispatch. They expect you to kind of know what you're doing once you're out there after being a student driver. And there's a lot to learn. And so at that point, he continued on. I continued to be in his at-home night dispatcher. And he called me up after being out for about 6 weeks as a company driver. He's like, I don't think I want to do this. I think I want to own my own trucking company. I'm going to start looking into that. I'm like, perfect. I've got the back office. I know accounting. It'll all be good.
Yeah.
Not so much, Adam. As you know, accounting wasn't just what it took. So fast forward a year later, learning more about, what it takes to truly run a back office. As he started transitioning, he found a local company that was going to allow him to purchase his truck from them straight Blue Book value. They didn't upcharge it. And so from that point, I quickly learned I have to learn the back office space. And how do I do that? I know college. I know I went and did my accounting degree through a college, but how do I learn dispatching? How do I learn safety? How do I learn getting, contracting loads? How do I learn all the things behind office? And so my initial gut instinct was I've got to go get a job in that space. So I was kind of deliberate in my actions towards that. And I went out and sought an opportunity where I was a billing clerk for a pretty large trucking company out of Kansas City. And that's where my love for trucking began. As I got immersed in that space, as I started meeting other owner-operators and truck drivers driving for the company I worked for, being part of driver orientation, being a part of the dispatch team. They sat right next to me on my accounting side. I started learning customer contracts. I ran the customer account division over at that space and really started intertwining myself and getting kind of locked into trucking. And that's where my true passion actually began, is my deliberate actions towards supporting my husband and our trucking company that he was trying to build.
So what was that like? And I guess this is one of those cliche questions, and being in accounting, I know debits and credits and all that stuff is pretty interesting from a concept standpoint, but being a trucker's wife, a lot of people don't understand the lifestyle that actually goes behind actually being a truck driver. But I think that also one of the things that's one of those things and that it doesn't get enough attention is just what's it like to support somebody that's away for that long. What was that like for you in the beginning?
It was really rough. Me and my husband were going on 20 years of marriage. And at the point when he decided to become a truck driver, we were 5 years in and we were with each other all the time. We worked our day jobs and then we also picked up night jobs at many locations and we worked together and never spent a night apart. He is an amazing father. So he was extremely involved in our children's lives. And so for him to pick up and just be gone was pretty emotional. It took an emotional toll, but also you're kind of like a single mom at that point. You're doing everything. You're taking care of the kids. You're getting them everywhere. You come home and that support system you once had is not there anymore. And for anybody that doesn't know it, whenever you have a husband that goes out and starts driving a truck as a student truck driver, you can't just pick up the phone anytime and talk to him. And so you're waiting on that phone call. I have a son. My oldest son went to the Navy, and during boot camp, it felt like the same thing. He was gone. I couldn't pick up the phone and call him. I had to wait for that call. And that was really hard on us. And our kids missed their dad quite a bit. That first time whenever he came home, the very first time he came home after being on the road for 6 weeks, it was very, very emotional because the kids were so excited to see him. And it was like, yeah, we definitely missed you. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do it all on your own. And whenever you're so reliant on somebody that's such a, intricate piece of your family.
You said something that kind of just that I agreed heavily with, because I don't think enough people get this point of trucking. And you mentioned that trucking isn't just a job. And I think that a lot of times people don't realize that this is not, you hear people get your CDL and it's going to be great. You might have a little, if you like to drive and this whole thing, but it's not a job. It's one of the furthest things from a job. And you said that too. You said trucking isn't just a job. What's the heart behind that for you? What is it? What is trucking to you and your family?
I'm going back again to my son being in the military. He served his country in a certain capacity, and I feel like my husband serves our country in a different capacity. They're the lifeblood of this economy. As minimalized as some people sitting behind a desk want to put it, these gentlemen, men and women out in these trucks that are hauling our goods back and forth across the United States, across our country, truly are another life support for this country and for us. It showed itself very true and transparent during COVID. It showed
Yeah.
really how important this industry is to every single person living in this country.
Now, when you look back at the early days of your journey and it all, and we're still in those early parts of the journey as for you, what were the moments that kind of shaped, your perception on the industry? Because it was different. I'm sure you didn't see it the same way you see it now, and you don't. I'm sure none of us do, right? So,
No,
what were some of those moments? Like, if you was to look back and say, "Hey, this moment right here was like rock bottom. This was the moment that I really, really said, hey, you know what? This is something that I need to really start taking serious." What moment was that?
the moment when my husband would called me and said, I don't have anywhere that I can go to the bathroom. I don't know. I don't have anywhere to get food like at home. I can't just go into a restaurant. I can't just park my truck anywhere. He was sitting at a receiver, and he had sat there for probably about 3 hours before anybody even came and said, "We're going to get you unloaded." And from the time he backed up his truck until the time they actually got him unloaded, that's a 3 hour window. That was you can't use our facilities. You're not going to be able to stay here overnight. I don't care that your clock just ran out of hours. And it's kind of a survivalist mindset. It's like, what do you do? And from my perspective, that's my husband, that's my family, that's somebody I truly love. And truck drivers are treated that way. Truck drivers are treated like they don't matter. And I don't care where you park, but it's not here. And I don't care that you had to wait for 3 hours. We had to have a meeting inside. That's whenever the rock bottom for me on reality of what trucking was. That's when that moment was when it hit.
Mm. Now that I want to move forward just a little bit and just kind of just
Mhm.
drag the hitch down the road a little bit. You held your own in operations, right? You've done operations, you've done sales, and now you're more in strategy. When you hear the term business development, obviously that's strategy, that's long term forecasting, that's what you foresee in the long term. As a woman in the industry, this industry is tough for us all. And I'm sure that just seeing it in a different lens, it's been challenging for you too as well. But as a woman in this industry, which lane out of all three, whether it be operations, whether it be sales, whether it be strategy, which one of those challenged you the most as a woman that's navigating in this industry?
Well, as director of business development, I think it's strategy and sales put together, right? And I think this has been for sure the most challenging in the industry. Um, I've watched my counterparts, I've watched colleagues in the industry newer to the space than I've been, that are male, walk into a room and immediately be presumed as knowing what they're talking about.
Hmm.
Every time I talk about anything that I do or approach a new arena where I don't know people, which thank goodness isn't so often anymore. But
Hmm.
whenever I do, it is a battle to prove that I know what I'm talking about,
Hmm.
or to even get into a space where maybe I don't. Do you want to tell me what you're talking about and we can learn together? So I think that's been the biggest challenge in sales. It's still a male dominant world, and I am adaptable and I'm a chameleon and I've got pretty tough skin. But I've seen other females in the space not so successful, and it beats them down. Pretty emotional for women that just don't uh, come in to the space with an expectation that everything's going to be easy. It's
Yeah.
definitely not. It's definitely a grind for everybody, not just
Yeah.
for females, but as a female specifically, the challenge I face is uh, just being given the respect that a male does walking into a room.
Yeah, and we're going to push into that a little bit deeper once we get a little further down in today's conversation. But I definitely wanted to just kind of thinking about the business development side. I want to kind of speak towards that and really kind of understand exactly what your role is. So tell us, the audience that are listening now, and just in a nutshell, what do you do?
I wear many hats. I have a unique position in my company as well as in the industry.
Yeah.
I kind of know both sides, right? Me and my husband, we are a customer of our fuel card that we provide.
So you
So
run
what
a
I
trucking
do,
company and you're a customer of your
yeah,
fuel card
that's
too.
right.
Yeah. Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
So in my role, I try to find new business, new partners to bring in new business to our company. But I'm also director over our merchant relationships. So all the big
Hmm.
truck stops out there, all the little guys you see out there, we have um, we're at close to 8,000 truck stops in our network right now. So I maintain all those relationships as well. So I'm able to really work a lot of different facets. Yeah, you kind of got me stuck on that one, Adam, because my head just kind of goes in all different directions. Bring in new relationships, bring in business, whatever way I possibly can, and through whatever means. Larger fleets, smaller fleets, trucking companies, referrals. I go out to many conferences and trade shows, so I'm meeting people all over the place. And so whatever way I can bring in business, that's kind of what I do, as well as maintaining our relationship with our truck stop partners and negotiate really good savings for our owner-operator space. The big guys, they get kind of that given discount because of their volume and their size, but the little guys, they don't get that. And so I'm out there kind of fighting for that on that side. And I say fighting for that. Funny enough, people think that it's hard to get those discounts. Truck stops want to help truckers. And so those relationships, when you come in, that is so true.
Is it?
So true, Adam. It is true. See, surprise.
Yeah.
I've got some great relationships. I've managed the merchant relationships from almost the first year into my role with multi-service fuel card. And I've met many great people in that merchant arena. I want to throw out names, but I think I'll leave it agnostic here. But yeah, they absolutely want to help truck drivers. We have great partners that want to hear voice of customer. Our customers or influencers and truck drivers that I meet in this space, they welcome that conversation. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we can do better. We want to help save money. We want to make it make sense to you. We're a business. We need to make money. We know you do too. And so let's work together. So they're more than happy to have the voice of customer with truck drivers. They want to hear back. They want to know what they're doing wrong or doing right because they want to improve all the time.
But what do they really want to hear, right? Because I mean, you gotta be honest. And you're on social media, and you see some of the stuff that you see on social media, and the approaches that are going out there. But I mean, when you say, "Hey, I want some feedback," sometimes you might not want to hear what people got to say. So, what is it really? Do they want to hear? They want to help truckers, but what does that mean?
So, good point, Adam. There are the bad actors out there that only want to hear what they want to hear, but for the most part, the majority, the non-anecdotal situations, for the most part, they want to hear the truck driver tell them what they can do to improve to bring that business back. For an example, there was a travel center that we work closely with. A gentleman came over to our booth over at Matt's and said, "Hey, I love your card. I love how easy it is to use. I like the discounts, but there's this truck stop that has a door that every time I go in it, it's broke. It hits me in the back. It's hard to pull open. What can you really do about that?" Took him by the hand, walked him over to our merchant partner, said, our customer's having an issue with one of your stops. Can you help him? Within a week, they had it fixed. They want to hear it. They want to hear, what kind of hot food you need. You don't like the fast food here? Well, tell us. If we brought back a full-blown restaurant, would that be something beneficial? But as with any business, it can't be the one person out of the 350,000 truck drivers.
Yeah.
Wants it, but nobody else does. It has to come in volume. But they do want to hear back from the truck. They do want to know what's working, what's not. They do want to know if their facilities need upgraded and fixed.
So what's the best approach then, if that's the case? So in your opinion, like I said, you hear and you see feedback channels a lot of different ways. Like you see people, atting that particular truck stop on social media, completely blasting them through, and kind of trying to bully their way to getting answers. Like you deal with it every day. You director of business development. With it, you work with over 8,000 different partners. Right. So what's the right approach? Like, what's the secret? What's the secret to get things changed?
From a truck driver standpoint, my husband is incredibly intelligent when it comes to running his business, but maybe not so great with holding his composure at some points.
Passionate people, man.
Passionate. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely passionate. I admire that piece. But you have to have a conversation with somebody who you have to approach the situation a little bit calmer of a state. That's how I would tell my husband. That's what I advise my husband. Go in and be respectful and speak your point. But that's easier said than done, because I've seen him go into a situation respectfully, and the way he treated back isn't so great. But he has me. And so the biggest piece of advice I would give is form your network. Get with people that know people that can help you, that can be your voice for you. I know it sounds rough, but until we make change, that's kind of how it is in this space. I'm always telling people, meet people, introduce yourself to people, form a circle, create a network of people. My kids, bad association spoils useful habits. Be around people that make you better, that can help you through life. So I would tell all those people listening, all those truck drivers listening, call multi-service fuel card. We can be your spokesperson.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really about who you put in your ecosystem. Personally, Adam, I reached out to you directly as an owner operator. I want to learn masterclass. I want to learn more. I want to be surrounded by like-minded individuals that can help. I get, I form relationships with people like you, Adam, that know your stuff. You know ins and outs of the small truck carrier space. You're also extremely professional. I worked out to Dan Lindsay on the broker carrier summit side. Connect me with some brokers, some solid, good brokers and shippers.
Mhm.
It's about really connecting with people that are doing it well and that can help you.
You made a really interesting point, and and here's the thing too. As a business owner, right? You wear a lot of different hats, and one of those, I think, and this is my opinion, but one of the most important hat that you can possibly wear is a networker, because as a networker, your network will determine what your net worth is. And we all can scream to the top of the mountaintops about this and about that, about the popular issues within trucking, right? We don't have to talk about them. If you want to know what the most hottest topics discussed with trucking right now, hit the Google button and type it in, because it's all over the place. And we don't need to discuss that here. But most importantly, like, is that the most important thing in your business, is what the hot topics are in trucking, or is the most important things in your business is growth and internal business development? So you're the director of business development for multi-service fuel car, but you're also the director of business development for your husband's trucking company.
That's
And
right.
a lot of people don't wear that hat. They're afraid to go into the truck stop and with professionalism, with the mindset and the determination of what you're actually going to do and what is your intent, right? So maybe I should go in and throw on a quick collared shirt and walk in and ask to speak to the manager and have intention on what you're talking about. It can't always be negative. You can't approach every situation in a negative manner. You got to be professional, right? So you got to wear that hat. And it was like the old saying, you can get more flies with honey than you can get with vinegar. And I think that, one of the things that I really want the listener, the owner operators out there to really, really understand is that to move your business ahead, you have to be able to, like you said, Jessica, wear different hats and wear multiple different composures when it comes down to it, because ultimately you can have all the knowledge in the world. You can be the most knowledgeable person out your business. You talked about your husband. You said, hey, he's probably, one of the most knowledgeable ones out there, but you're his yin to the yang, because you know that all of that built up passion, and it's great to have that passion, but you got to have some composure. Now, a lot of drivers out there, a lot of owner operators don't have that.
Yeah, that's 100%. You nailed it, Adam. If you're going to be a business owner, you need to be a business owner and you need to
Right.
compose yourself as such. And if you just don't have it in you to do that, which I 100% respect, I I do have my class A CDLs. I have drove dump trucks, but I'm much better at the business development side. I'm much better at the business side of things. So I play my role. Just
Mhm.
like if you're a truck driver and you do run your own business well, like my husband does on paper, but you need somebody to be your advocate to speak for you, find somebody, hire somebody on
Yeah.
that can do that part for you well. Because if you don't, you're going to really just be spinning your wheels the same way you've been doing.
Yeah.
You have to go in with professionalism and respect. Now, I do have some really good friends that run their own trucking companies, and they are a little hot headed, but they do know how to bring that down, and they manage to, create really solid relationships and get things fixed. I'm not saying that my way is the right way for everybody. I'm just saying what's worked for me and my husband is exactly that.
Yeah, and the thing is too, is like you said, you brought up another great point. What worked for you worked for you. It's not, there is no cookie cutter when it comes down to
Mm-mm.
business. There is nothing that, if you follow these steps 1 through 1,000, and you do every single one of these 1,000, you're guaranteed to be successful. And I don't think that that exists. I think that everybody has a different lane. Everybody has to understand that no matter what direction, no matter what your DOT number is, at the end of the day, you're the business owner. At the ultimately, and how far you go is contingent upon you as business developmental leader of your within own business. And that's the hat that every owner operator has to wear. You've got to wear the hat of the director of business development, and that is independent to you, which is completely separate from being able to go through a gear range or being able to back to a dock or being able to read a rate confirmation. So these are all the things that you have to understand are important when it comes down to that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the, about juggling family a little bit too, because people still struggle with that. So what's something you had to learn the hard way, that you now try to pass along to other women coming into the space, especially those that are juggling family and freight?
Yeah. Find the right company to work for.
Oh,
If
wow.
you
Let me
do
say that
not
again.
find the right company to work for, you will be bumping your head against the wall. And you're not the only one that sacrifices that. Your children do as well.
Yeah.
Um, I bump my head more times than not. And I definitely am not the person to come through to for advice to do it the right way from the start. I can tell you all the things I've done wrong, and
Mhm.
now fast forward have figured it out. But if I could go back to my earlier years, find the right company, find the company that supports your lifestyle, especially if you're trying to help your husband run his trucking company,
Yeah.
because you don't have, my husband can't just get a call from the school and say, hey, come get your kiddo, he's
Right.
sick.
Right.
He's 5 hours away,
Right.
or he's in 3 different or states away. So you have to be able to stop what you're doing and accommodate to your family, but try to explain that to corporate America.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going to be like, sorry, you already got 10 points because you showed up late this day, had to take off already. But that's just our world. I am so very fortunate, Adam, and very blessed to work for a company that provides a safe space for me to work as hard as I do and give everything to my job, but equally share it with my family. So find the right company to work for.
Well, that's awesome because you've seen the industry from everywhere from, the kitchen table conversations to the boardroom. What do you think the industry still overlooks about the people behind the wheel and the families behind the business?
It's nonstop. I think that what's overlooked the most is the 24/7 aspect. Just like we're talking about me out here in Colorado, hanging out, doing my thing. At the same time, my husband's still in the semi truck. We still have to run a company. We still have to run a business. It's nonstop. If I got a phone call right now from a potential partner for multi-service fuel card or an existing one or an existing truck driver using our fuel card, I'm never not going to answer that phone.
Right.
We do not stop. So making the assumption that, you know, it's 9 to 5, it's trucking is not 9 to 5. And if
Yeah.
you're not willing to be 24/7 in this space, make sure you, first of all, present yourself that way, but it might not be a good fit for you.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that, like, I think a lot of people have a have a tendency to shy away from the reality that this industry may not be for them.
You fail fast, Adam. Fail fast.
And that's okay. And that's
It is
okay
okay.
because it's not for everybody. But you know what I see a lot too, Jessica? I see a lot of people that the industry and their desires may not match to their capabilities and their actual attributes.
That's 100% correct.
What I mean by that is that you remember back in school, like, maybe very, very young, everybody got a participation trophy. Everybody got a trophy for showing up. Everybody got a badge. Everybody got the old school trophy with the year on the front of it and the mannequin figure on the top of it. Everybody got one of those and everybody was all happy. It don't work like that when it comes down to business.
No.
And you'll find many people struggle with walking away. And I think
Hmm.
that ultimately you made an interesting point. There are times when it's needed for you to be able to say, hey, you know what, this is just not for me. And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times people struggle with that. And the business will wear you down if you let it. And just from your perspective, how do you protect your energy and stay mission focused in the middle of those? Hey, you got to come. School wants to talk about a circumstance and you're 5 hours away, or hey, I understand that you're stuck in the middle of nowhere. I'm trying to find you some place. Then there's those times where it's just this will wear you down. So how do you protect your energy?
Whew. Um, I don't know about how to protect my energy. I've not been very good at that. Um, I think that what keeps me going, I think, is a better way to position it for myself to answer that. The
Yeah.
way I keep going is always in the back of my head is if I stop, I'm going to be failing so many people behind me or around me. And so that's what keeps me going. I think the way that I rejuvenate myself is make sure I'm taking time out when I can, like this, just go and just take time with your family. Also love the outdoors. So spending as much time as I can in the outdoors is also replenishing to my soul. But I've formed so many relationships in this industry that I feel like I'm around family now in this space. So once again, I think I'll circle it back to create your network, create your the people around you that support you and cheerlead you on and rejuvenate you and really help you through it. That's kind of where I found my way because there's been many times that burnout has been real, and the constant grind and the constant go and the never stop. For some people, if they're in trucking, they're able to go to work and they'll get their brief moments at home where they can take a deep breath and live a different life and be in a different arena. But for me, it's just trucking, 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 trucking.
Mm,
And this last 2 years, trucking hasn't been fun. Trucking has been hard and
mm,
very emotional and very scary. And there have been moments that there has been a real fear of we might not make it all in the entire space, not make it. And so seeing everything just go down and down and down after
yeah.
coming from a huge high, it could be defeating. But yeah, just surround yourself with people that can support what you're doing, that fill your soul and replenish your cup.
You mentioned, like, hey, I don't know about protecting my energy. I know about how to keep going.
Yeah.
All right. What does that mean?
I don't know how to protect my energy, meaning I'm the type of person that doesn't really stop. That uh, I'm very passionate as well. And protecting my energy, meaning whenever I hear you say energy, I think of not stress, a good aura. And
Yeah.
I don't live in that world. There's not a time or a space to really allow myself to do that.
And you keep going. I think that, maybe I'd be remiss to not include the fact that some of the stories of you being able to help somebody out there through your program and through what you do, that's one of those things that can continue to pour into you to help keep going and keep you going. And then you mentioned how hard the industry has been, coming down off of the 2022 years, which
Mm-hmm.
it was a unicorn. That's one of those years that nobody expected. It came out of nowhere. One morning in April, everybody looked up and wow, these freight rates are really really good today, and then they just continued to skyrocket. And a lot of people just came in. They start signing up and wanted to get a part of it.
Yeah.
Obviously that's something that you can't frown upon because everybody's kind of saying, hey, this is where it's at. This is where I need to go. But a lot of people didn't realize that the cycles behind it, that what goes up must come down. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
struggle with that today. I think that there's still people that struggle with that. There are fingers that are being pointed as to who's the reason and the cause to that. And I won't get into that either. But you made a great point. Like, hey, you know what? You just gotta figure it out on your own and just kind of keep going. If it's something that you want to be into, you got to figure it out. You got to keep going. You got to build networks. You got to build relationships. And if it's just not for you, then maybe that's something that you need to have to consider, have that talk to with yourself as well. I You and I had we connected at the BCS a couple of times, um, and I noticed that you were doing something pretty cool. For those that don't know, Brittany Traylor, who she was a really really good friend to the community when it came down to the trucking community. Amazing spirit, just beacon of hope, beacon of light when it came down to it. Tragically lost her life in a truck accident this year. And honestly, it was crazy because it was just after the mats. I was at the mats, and the last time I saw it was at the mats. And it was just after that, and it was actually right before the Broken Carrier Summit this year. She lost her life in a tragic accident, and it was definitely a shock to everyone, and definitely one of the worst news is that anyone can hear. Young, inspiring, energetic, ready to go, but she also was a reflection of the volatility in this of this industry. That it's a very dangerous job, and I know for you as a wife, um, those are things that you got to worry that you worry about all the time too.
Oh yeah, that it hit home for me. I did not know Brittany personally. I never had the honor of meeting her, and I think I probably related more to her wife during that tragedy. Um, your world just completely stops in a moment like that, and that is one of the number one fears for myself if something happened to my husband on the road. I
Mhm.
can't even imagine if I was in the truck with him driving or my kids were, because we do that frequently. We'll
Yeah.
go on a route with him on the weekends, and having something like that tragically happen, and that's the reality of the space we live in. And so, very, very, very heartbreaking news, and I felt deeply for her wife.
This why is it so? Let's talk about the scholarship. The Brittany Traylor Scholarship. Was this so important to create, and what impact do you hope it has long term?
It was extremely important to me to create because understanding and learning about who Brittany was to the industry, what she was trying to do, the impact she left behind, I feel like it's extremely important to continue that legacy. And through a scholarship, we reflect the memory of what she was and who she was in this space. The impact that it can make is allowing and providing scholarships to other women in the space that want to be able to follow in those footsteps. And I can't think of a better way than following somebody like Brittany.
How can folks in this, specifically in this industry, when you think about whether it be carriers, brokers, vendors, like yourself, do more than just post about supporting women in the industry. What does real partnership and then that allyship look like from your perspective?
Uh, I'm going to be blunt about how I feel. Put
Please
your money
do.
where your mouth is. You want to make an impact, donate, create a sponsorship. Um, the Women in Trucking Foundation is a great platform to do this. All the money and the proceeds that we collect through donations and sponsorship levels go right back into the industry for women that are going to tech school to be a diesel mechanic,
Mhm.
in logistics, truck driver, executive levels, like myself, back in the office, whatever level that means. We provide scholarships to women in this space to elevate their self in the industry. And if you are not in a position where you can donate any monetary value, spread the word. Spread the word that there's a foundation out there where there's money being raised to be able to support women. Tell the women in the industry, go apply. Go apply for this scholarship. You want to elevate yourself. You want to gain the knowledge you need to be in this space. You want to become a truck driver. You want to be a diesel mechanic. There is a way, and there is a way to go out and apply to get help if you need it financially. I wish I would have known about it. Struggle bus. Through
Yeah.
grit and determination is the only way I made it. But if I can spread the word out there to women in this space on resources that are available, and it's just not a one time scholarship. You can go and apply multiple times to keep getting the scholarship. We award many scholarships throughout the year. I believe we just awarded 34 scholarships for the spring cycle, and there will probably be
Wow.
additional 30 to 40 at the fall cycle. And the more money we're able to raise, the more scholarships we can give, and the more women we can elevate.
So, what kind of women or stories of women are you seeing come through the Women in Trucking Foundation programs that just give you hope for where the industry is headed? Or maybe it doesn't give you hope. Maybe you're concerned.
I think I'm both concerned and hopeful, Adam. There's beacons of light through the foundation scholarships that you see. You see the women; they're extremely grateful. They're elevating their roles in the logistics side, which is desperately needed. I think truck drivers as well. We do have 50-50 truck driver scholarship recipients, as well as 50% of those being the diesel mechanics or the executive leadership roles. Which does give me hope that there's still women out there applying to get CDLs. I would love personally to see more women becoming owner operators. I see that fading away. I see much more company women drivers than actual owning their own trucking company. So I would love to see that. But there's hope. There's 50% of those scholarships go out to women wanting to get their CDL and become truck drivers.
That's good, and I'm glad that you kind of put the awareness out there too about that. I don't think that many people know that there is help out there for those that are interested. If you could write a message on a billboard that every woman in the trucking industry would see, on every truck, what would it say?
Oh gosh. Keep going. You're seen. Keep going. You're seen.
What's the legacy you want to leave? I mean, and I'm not just talking about in business, but just look at how people feel after working with Jessica. I think that you represent a company, but I think more so. I think that your purpose and your drive is a little bit different. That's the reason why you're on this show, right? You're not just a company person. You really have a deep passion behind it. So I think that ultimately, I think that that would be really what kind of would guide me into kind of getting that thought process of what do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want your legacy to be, and how do you want people to feel after working with you?
I would like my legacy to be somebody that truly helped every person in this industry, no matter who you are. Lean on me, use me uh, to do better. Somebody that was always open and available to help in any way I could. That's what I sometimes feel like I'm just one person. I can't do enough, but I just want to leave this space with people knowing that I was 100% there. I definitely made an impact because not only did I say I was going to do what I said I was going to do, but I did it.
What's next for you, and how can this audience that's listening to you help support what you're building?
Um, I don't know what's next for me. Each day comes with its own
Yeah.
adventure.
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
could support me and really, um, man, take care of the truck drivers. If I could create a space for myself to do whatever I wanted, it would just be a truck driver advocate to be able to use the knowledge that I have and the connections I have to build a better industry.
Well, today was one of those episodes where it was just a heartfelt episode. Wanted to hear from the other side of the table, really understanding, what it's like to support a truck driver, support an owner operator, especially during the hard times when it comes down to it. And this industry is definitely not short of hard times lately. It's been a long road from 2022 to now in terms of where we're at in the down cycle of the industry. And a lot of times, the people that don't get the recognition are the people that are behind the scenes. Jessica is one of those people. She supports an owner operator independently, all while at the same time being a wife, mother, and then also being a director of business development for a large fuel card firm. It's really important to understand the impacts that are felt that don't necessarily get the headlines, and supporting the owner operators and supporting business owners behind the scenes are some of those impacts. So today's episode, we really wanted to dive into that and talk about it and understand where you come out in the industry. We also focused on the fact that there is a platform and there is a place, and that women are really showing up and showcasing in big numbers and doing big things for the industry and support. There's a lot of times that the credit and the recognition is not there, but it's not because it's just not known. It's just because it's not being seen. Now, Jessica's those type of people that we see those, so we love to keep continuing the conversations along the lines and make sure that we're supporting everybody within the industry, but most importantly, supporting those that support the owner operators and the drivers every day. Fuel is one of your top expenses when it comes down to that. And Jessica brought the point out there that was very important when it came down to just being able to have conversations. If you don't like what you see, say something. But the importance about saying something is saying it professionally and saying it articulating into a way where you're going to get those results based on the conversation that you're having. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today. And if there was a way for people, or people needed to get a hold of you, or they wanted to contact you, they wanted to talk to you about fuel, or wanted to talk to you about anything that we talked about today, how can they get in contact with you?
You can look me up on LinkedIn, Jessica Dotson, multi-service field card, Director of Business Development, or you can email me directly at jdotson@msfuelcard.com.
Is there part and shot, one thing that you want to leave with the audience?
Stay safe out there, truck drivers. Take care of the truck driver, whether he's an owner operator or a company driver. He's the core to all of our businesses, and without truck drivers, we would not have the positions we're in right now.
And I support that message. Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode, Jessica. It was a pleasure hearing your side, and thank you for being so heartfelt and transparent with it. And for all the listeners, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe this episode out. And most importantly, like she said, stay safe, stay profitable, and we'll see you on the other side. Take care, everybody.